The alien arena was alive with excitement, its towering walls reverberating with the roar of countless spectators from distant worlds. Each species present in the stands had traveled from different corners of the galaxy, all gathered to witness the spectacle that would unfold. For centuries, these arenas had been used to settle disputes, challenge the strongest, and entertain the elite. Today, however, it was different. Today, the human would fight. There had never been a human who survived. The trials in the arena. The alien warriors, towering, powerful, and skilled, were unmatched. The arena sands had been stained with the blood of many races, but never had a human dared to enter, much less win. The human fighter stood at the center of the arena, his body battered from the months of preparation. He wasn't tall or muscular in the way the alien warriors were, but he had something else, an intense will to survive and a mind sharp enough to outthink any opponent. His dark eyes scanned the crowd above, observing the faces of his alien captors, who regarded him with amusement and pity. They believed he was just another prey, another short-lived contestant to entertain them, but the human was different. His name was unknown to most, but to those who had seen him train, he was simply called the Fighter. A slave to the arena like many others, he had no other life. But today, he would change that. From above, a loud voice boomed, announcing the beginning of the challenge. The human, by law, must fight 100 warriors. He shall have no weapon, no allies, only his wits and his strength. Let the games begin! The gates at the far end of the arena creaked open, and one by one, alien warriors stepped into the light. They were imposing, dressed in battle gear that gleamed under the arena lights. Some carried weapons, a massive battle axe, sharp, curved blades, and spears taller than the human's body. They were prepared to end the human's life in mere moments. But the human stood tall, unfazed, a glint of determination in his eyes. The first warrior lunged, a beast of a creature with scales the color of midnight and a heavy club in hand. It swung with terrifying force, but the human had already anticipated the strike. With a quick sidestep, he evaded the blow and used the warrior's own momentum against him, knocking the club away and slamming his fist into the creature's gut. The alien staggered, gasping for air, before collapsing onto the ground. A murmur spread across the crowd. They had never seen a human move like this before. The second warrior was faster, his claws sharp and glistening. He slashed through the air, but the human ducked and rolled, narrowly avoiding the deadly swipe. In a flash, he grabbed the warrior's arm and twisted it behind his back. With a swift kick, he sent the creature flying across the arena, its body slamming against the wall with a sickening thud. The audience was silent now. What was happening? The human wasn't just surviving, he was winning. For the next hour, the battles continued. The human fought with a precision and cunning that kept the alien warriors off balance. He had no grand strength, no flashy abilities, but his tactical mind and speed were unmatched. He exploited weaknesses, taking advantage of his surroundings, using the very environment of the arena to his advantage. One by one, the warriors fell. The crowd was beginning to stir, their disbelief growing as the human continued to fight. Even the arena's overseers began to take notice. This wasn't supposed to happen. No human had ever made it this far. The alien woman, seated among the high-ranking officials in the stands, watched intently. She was no stranger to combat. In fact, she was one of the finest warriors in her clan. She had seen hundreds of battles. But something about this human intrigued her. His form was unremarkable, his movements were simple, yet there was a brilliance in the way he fought. It was the kind of brilliance that only comes from someone fighting for survival. Her silver eyes followed every motion, every breath the human took. She had heard the rumors about his strength and his resilience, but watching him in action was something else entirely. This human was different. There was no fear in his eyes, no hesitation. He was a force of nature, and she couldn't look away. By the time the 100th warrior stepped into the arena, the human was covered in bruises and cuts. His body was battered, but his resolve remained unbroken. The final warrior was unlike the others, taller, stronger, and armed with a massive spear. It was clear that this fight would be the hardest yet. The warrior charged, swinging the spear. With deadly intent, the human ducked, narrowly avoiding the sharp end as it cut through the air. With a grunt, the warrior swung again, this time aiming for the human's head. But the human was quicker. He dove forward, grabbing the spear's shaft and yanking it from the warrior's hands. With a quick jab, he thrust the spear into the warrior's side, bringing him down. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices deafening as they realized what they had just witnessed. The human had done the impossible. He had fought 100 warriors, and he had one dot as the human stood over the fallen warrior. His chest heaving with exhaustion, the alien woman rose from her seat. She could feel a strange pull toward him, an unfamiliar sensation in her chest. For the first time in her life, she was not thinking of victory or power. She was thinking of him. Her people may have expected this human to fall, but she saw him for what he truly was, a force to be reckoned with, and she would not let anyone else touch him. Not now, not ever. The atmosphere in the arena had changed. The crowd was no longer just watching a fight. They were witnessing something that felt like history in the making. They had come to see the human fall, but instead, they watched in shock and awe as he fought with the strength and skill of someone who had nothing to lose. The human was breathing heavily now, his body a canvas of bruises and cuts. But his eyes were sharp, alert, and filled with determination. The audience watched in silence as he prepared for the next wave of attackers. From the shadows of the arena gates, the next warrior stepped forward. This one was different, taller, more imposing. His skin was a dark green hue, and his horns curved out from his head like twin blades. He carried a massive war axe that gleamed under the arena lights. The warriors that had faced the human before had underestimated him. This one wouldn't. The human didn't flinch. He raised his fists, his stance steady despite the toll the previous fights had taken on him. His heart raced, but his mind was clear. He had been in worse situations. The human understood the stakes now. This wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that even the smallest and most unlikely beings could rise above the odds. The alien warrior swung the axe with terrifying force, aiming to decapitate the human in a single blow. But the human was already moving, his feet quick on the sandy floor of the arena. He dodged the strike, rolling to the side, then lunged toward the warrior, grabbing his arm and using the weight of the alien's own strike against him. With a twist, the human pulled the warrior off balance and sent him crashing to the ground. The crowd gasped. The warriors in the stands, who had expected the human to fall in moments, were now looking at him with a mixture of disbelief and respect. The alien woman, still seated among the elite in the stands, leaned forward, her sharp eyes never leaving the human. She had seen combat for centuries, but never had she witnessed a human fight with such skill and heart. He wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. The battle continued, wave after wave of warriors charging into the arena, each one stronger and more skilled than the last. But with every opponent he faced, the human grew stronger, his mind and body adapting, finding new ways to outsmart and overpower his enemies. Another alien warrior, this one with blue, scaled skin, rushed at him, brandishing a pair of curved daggers. The human's legs were sore, his muscles burning with exhaustion, but he pushed through it. He ducked beneath the first dagger swipe, then grabbed the second, twisting it out of the warrior's hand before delivering a powerful punch. To his stomach, the alien staggered back, gasping for air, and the human wasted no time. With a quick jab to the throat, the warrior collapsed, unable to fight any longer. But the human didn't pause for victory. He couldn't afford to. The next opponent was an alien with 4 arms, each one holding a different weapon. It was clear that this creature was more than just physically imposing. It was trained in multiple forms of combat. As the alien charged, swinging blades and striking with fists, the human danced around the strikes, narrowly avoiding being hit. But he knew that if he didn't act quickly, this warrior would overwhelm him. He waited for the perfect moment. The alien's second arm swung toward his head. The human ducked, slid beneath the attack, and with a swift movement, he kicked the alien's leg out from under him. As the alien fell, the human used his momentum to pin the creature to the ground and land a brutal punch to its chest, knocking the wind out of it. With a final strike, he rendered the creature unconscious. Each victory built upon the last, the human proving again and again that he was more than just a man, he was a warrior. The alien warriors, once confident in their superiority, were now hesitant. They had come to destroy the human, but they were beginning to question if they could dot at the edge of the arena. The alien woman stood, watching him closely. She couldn't look away. With every move, every fight, the human seemed to defy her understanding of what was possible. He was supposed to be weak, fragile, but he was proving the opposite. The alien woman had seen thousands of battles in her life, but never had she seen such raw determination as the final warrior. A hulking creature with skin like molten lava stepped into the arena. The tension in the stands reached its peak. The human was exhausted. His limbs were heavy, his breath ragged. But the fire in his eyes was as strong as ever. The molten warrior roared, its massive fists swinging toward the human. With a great leap, the human dodged, narrowly avoiding the blow that would have crushed him. The molten warrior was fast, but the human had learned to move even faster. He ducked and weaved, making sure to stay close enough to strike, but far enough to avoid the deadly blows. For what felt like an eternity, they fought man versus beast, one with speed and precision, the other with power and rage. The molten warrior landed a blow to the human side, and for a moment he stumbled, his vision blurring. But he didn't give up. He fought through the pain, using everything he had left. In a final, desperate move, the human rolled beneath the molten warrior's feet, causing the alien to stumble forward. With one last burst of strength, the human drove his knee into the back of the warrior's leg, forcing it to the ground. Without hesitation, the human grabbed the molten warrior's arm and twisted it with all his might. There was a sickening snap, and the molten warrior let out a roar of pain before collapsing. Defeated, the crowd went silent. Not a single sound echoed through the arena. The human had done the impossible. He had fought and won against 100 warriors. In the stands, the alien woman remained standing, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never seen a human like him, never seen anyone with such strength, such tenacity. She could feel something stirring within her, something she didn't want to acknowledge, but couldn't ignore. She stepped forward, her eyes locked onto him as he stood, bloodied and battered in the center of the arena. He had earned his place among the stars. But more than that, he had earned her attention. The arena was still as the human stood, his chest heaving with exhaustion, surrounded by the bodies of the warriors he had just defeated. Blood, sweat, and dirt covered him, but his eyes remained focused and unyielding. The silence that followed. His victory was deafening. The crowd, once filled with mockery and disbelief, now stood in stunned silence. They had expected to watch a spectacle, a short-lived fight that would end with the human's death. But instead they had witnessed a miracle. From the high stands, the alien woman could not look away. Her eyes were fixed on the human, the one who had defied every expectation and defeated an army of warriors. She felt a strange pull toward him, an emotion she had never expected to feel toward a human. It wasn't just admiration. It was something deeper. The human had proven that he was not just an insignificant being. He was powerful in his own right, and she found herself drawn to him in ways she could not understand. The alien leaders, once sitting proudly with their eyes on the battlefield, began murmuring among themselves. The human had won, yes, but what did this mean? No one had ever seen anything like this before. The human had gone beyond what anyone thought possible. But what would this victory mean for the rest of the games? The rules had been clear. The human was supposed to lose. He wasn't meant to win. And now that he had, the consequences were unclear. From the shadows, a figure emerged. A man, older than the others, with sharp eyes and an air of authority. He was one of the high-ranking officials, one who had watched the battles unfold with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. As he approached the center of the arena, his voice boomed across the quiet space. "Well done, human," he said, his tone both respectful and begrudging. "You have proven yourself more capable than we expected. But there is more to come. The rules of the arena are not so easily broken. You may have defeated 100 warriors, but there are many more challenges ahead. You may have won today, but tomorrow is another test. The human nodded slowly, still catching his breath. I'll face whatever comes next, he said firmly, his voice strong despite his injuries. I'll keep fighting until I can't anymore. The alien official nodded, acknowledging the human's resolve. Then you will have your chance. But no, your victory today will not go unnoticed. There are those who will seek to use you for their own purposes. You must be careful. The human, his body aching from the brutal combat, didn't respond. He was more concerned with what came next, with the battles that were still ahead. He knew he couldn't afford to get distracted, but something nagged at the back of his mind. There was something in the air, something that felt different now. The arena was no longer just a place for combat, it had become a place where he was being watched, where his every move would have consequences. As the human turned to leave the arena floor, he felt a presence behind him. A soft step, delicate but purposeful, approached from the shadows. The alien woman who had been watching him from the stands appeared beside him. She moved with an elegant grace, her long, flowing robes shimmering in the dim light. You fought. Well, she said softly, her voice carrying an unexpected warmth. I've never seen anyone like you. The human looked at her, surprised. He had expected praise from the officials, but this woman was different. There was something about her eyes, something that made him feel like she saw more than just a fighter. She saw something else. I don't fight for praise, he replied, still cautious. I fight because I have to. I don't have a choice. She studied him for a moment, her eyes thoughtful. You may not think you have a choice, but you do. You could have walked away, given up, but you didn't. You chose to keep fighting, even when the odds were against you. The human felt a strange sense of pride at her words, though he didn't let it show. I've learned to survive, that's all. She stepped closer, her presence commanding. Survival is more than just fighting, you know. It's about understanding who you are, what you're capable of. And I see potential in you more than just a fighter. You're something else. He looked at her carefully, still uncertain. What do you mean? She tilted her head slightly, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. I mean that you're not just a tool to be used in these games. You're something more. And that makes you dangerous. Dangerous in a way that most of us don't understand. The human said nothing, but her words lingered in his mind. He had never thought of himself as anything more than a survivor, a tool for combat. But now, something about the way she spoke made him question everything he had believed. You're the one they all watch, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. You've earned their attention, and that means they'll want something from you. They'll want you to fight for them, to be their champion. But you're not just anyone, you're different. The human shook his head, trying to focus. I don't care about any of that. I'm just trying to stay alive. She smiled again, though this time it was laced with something that felt almost like sympathy. I know, but in the end, survival isn't the only thing you'll have to fight for. There are other battles to come, battles that will decide more than just your life. Her words hung heavy in the air as she stepped away, leaving him to contemplate what she had said. He watched her retreat into the shadows, her figure disappearing into the darkness of the arena. For a moment, the human stood there, alone. The cheers of the crowd had faded, but the weight of the battle he had won still clung to him. He had proven something today, something important, but the alien woman's words were still fresh in his mind. What did she mean? What was coming next? As he left the arena, a new sense of awareness settled over him. The games were no longer just a way to survive. They were a test of strength, of will, and of something deeper. The human realized that this was only the beginning. Whatever came next, he would face it. And he would face it as a warrior, someone who had fought and won against all odds. The days after the human's victory passed in a blur. The arena, once a place of death and struggle, had become a symbol of his defiance. His name, though still unknown to most, was whispered among the alien ranks. He was no longer just another prisoner. He had become a legend, but despite his success, the human could not shake the feeling that something had shifted. There was a weight in the air, an unseen tension that pressed down on him from all sides. The battles had been hard, but the real struggle was just beginning. The alien woman's words echoed in his mind. There are other battles to come. He didn't know what she meant, but he was beginning to understand that his fight wasn't just for survival anymore. It was something much more complex. The alien woman, whose presence lingered in his thoughts, had made herself scarce after their brief conversation. She had disappeared into the shadows of the arena, leaving him with more questions than answers. He couldn't forget the way she had looked at him, with an intensity that made him feel like she saw right through him. It was a feeling he wasn't used to. Most of the aliens treated him like a tool, a weapon to be used for their amusement. But this woman... She saw something else. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, the human was walking back to his cell, his muscles sore and his body worn from the constant battles. He was alone, his thoughts consumed by the alien woman's cryptic words, when he suddenly felt a presence behind him. He spun around, instinctively reaching for the weapon he had been given, though he knew it would be no match for whoever might approach. But to his surprise, it was her. The alien woman stood in the shadows, her robes flowing around her like the midnight sky. There was no sign of her usual grace, no delicate smile on her lips. She seemed troubled, her expression serious, almost burdened. She stepped closer, her silver eyes never leaving his. "You're still alive," she said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. "I thought you'd be dead by now." The human looked at her, still unsure of how to respond. Her presence was overwhelming, and yet, for some reason, he couldn't bring himself to be afraid of her. "I told you, I'm not like the others. I fight to survive." She nodded slowly, as if she understood something that he didn't. "You're more than just a fighter, human. That's why they will never leave you alone. They'll keep pushing you until they break you." The human frowned. "Who will? The leaders? The ones in charge?" Her gaze darkened. "Not just them. There are many who will want you. You've, proven yourself to be more than a mere gladiator. You've become a symbol of strength, of defiance. That's what makes you dangerous." "Dangerous?" The human repeated, his voice uncertain. "I'm just one man. I don't even know what's going on here. All I've ever known is survival." The alien woman took a step closer, her presence somehow more intense than before. "You think it's about survival? You think it's just about fighting? No, human. The games, the arena, they are only the beginning. The real battle is outside these walls." The human's brow furrowed. "What do you mean? What's out there?" The alien woman hesitated, her gaze shifting as though she was weighing her next words carefully. "There's a war coming." "A war? Between us, aliens and the humans. You're a part of something much larger than yourself, something you can't yet understand. And you're not just a soldier, you single quotes, a symbol." The human was silent for a moment, absorbing her words. He had heard rumors of tensions between the alien races and the humans, but nothing had seemed certain. Now standing before him, this alien woman was telling him that the stakes were higher than he had ever imagined. It wasn't just about surviving. The arena, it was about something much bigger. "But why me?" he asked, his voice low. "Why are you telling me this?" "I'm just a fighter. I'm not important to anyone." "You are important," she said, her tone softer now, almost gentle. "You don't see it yet, but you will. You have the power to change things. And if you don't understand that now, you will soon enough." The human stared at her, his mind racing. "What do you want from me?" She stepped closer, her silver eyes locked onto his with an intensity that took his breath away. "I want to help you. I want to help you see the bigger picture. You're not just fighting to survive anymore. You're fighting for a cause, for your people, and for your future." For the first time in what felt like forever, the human felt something stir inside him, a flicker of hope, a sense of purpose that he had never known before. He had always fought for survival, for himself. But now, as he looked into the alien woman's eyes, he saw something else. Something he couldn't explain. She reached out, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. "But it won't be easy. The path ahead is dangerous. There are those who will stop at nothing to control you, to use you for their own gain. They see you as a weapon, a tool. But you are so much more than that. The human nodded slowly, still unsure of where this conversation was leading. I don't know if I can handle all of this. I'm just trying to make it through one day at a time. The alien woman's lips curled into a small, understanding smile. I know, but the time is coming when you won't have a choice. You will have to choose a side. And when you do, I want you to remember one thing: there is power in your choice. More power than you realize. With that, she turned to leave, her figure disappearing into the shadows of the arena. The human stood still for a long moment, the weight of her words settling over him. What was she really saying? What did she mean by choosing a side? And how could he ever be a part of something as big as a galactic war? The uncertainty hung heavy in the air as he walked back to his cell. The arena felt different now, darker, more oppressive. The fight for survival had never seemed so complicated. As the door to his cell clanged shut behind him, the human sat on the edge of the cold, metal bed, his thoughts swirling. He had always believed his fight was simple: survive. But now he knew it wasn't that easy. There was a bigger picture, one that he had yet to fully see, and somehow deep down, he knew that his role in this story had only just begun. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty. The human had fought in countless battles, his body worn and battered, but now the true struggle was beginning. The alien woman's words lingered in his mind, a constant reminder that his fight was no longer just for survival. There was something greater at stake, something beyond the arena, something that could change everything. He had been in the arena long enough to know that nothing in this place was ever as simple as it seemed. The aliens here, with their elaborate customs and vast powers, operated on a scale the human couldn't fully comprehend. But one thing was certain: he had proven himself. He had survived the impossible, defeated 100 warriors, and earned the respect of those who had once thought him nothing more than a pawn in their games. The human spent his time between the battles, alone in his small cell, his thoughts racing. He knew the arena was only the beginning. The alien woman had made that clear, but what came next? What was his role in this greater war she spoke of? What did she mean by choosing a side? The answer came sooner than he expected. It was late one evening when he was summoned. The guards came to his cell, their expressions unreadable. One of them spoke, his voice harsh and commanding. The council wants to see you, now. The human didn't argue. He had learned long ago that resistance only brought more pain. He followed the guards through the labyrinth of corridors, his thoughts heavy. The alien woman's warning echoed in his mind. There are those who will stop at nothing to control you. What did the council want with him? He had already proved himself in the arena. Was there more they expected from him? Was his fate truly in their hands, or was there a way to escape this life of endless battles? When they reached the council chambers, the human was led inside. The room was massive, its walls lined with strange alien symbols and flickering lights. At the far end, seated in an elevated position, were the leaders of the alien council. They looked down at him with cold, calculating eyes. There was no emotion in their gaze, no sympathy, just the detached judgment of those who held power. The alien woman was there too, standing at the side, her presence commanding. Her eyes met his, and for a moment there was a brief flicker of something familiar and unspoken. But the moment passed quickly, and she returned to her position, her face a mask of composure. The human stood before the council, his fists clenched at his sides. He had no idea what was coming, but he was ready for whatever it was. He had fought and survived for far too long to back down now. The leader of the council, a tall alien with glowing blue skin and eyes that shimmered like stars, spoke first. You have proven yourself, he said, his voice deep and resonant. You have done what no human has ever done. You have defeated our warriors in the arena. You have earned your place among us. The human said nothing, his heart pounding in his chest. He had fought for his survival, not for their approval. But he didn't argue. He waited for the rest. However, the leader continued, his gaze piercing, we have been watching you. You are more than just a fighter. You are a symbol of resistance, a symbol of humanity's strength, and that is a problem. The words hung in the air, thick with tension. The human frowned, not fully understanding what they were implying. A problem? He repeated, his voice low. Yes, the leader said, his eyes narrowing. You are becoming a threat. Your victories in the arena have made you more than just a pawn in our games. You have inspired others. And that human is something we cannot allow, the human's mind raced. He had never thought of himself as a symbol. He was just trying to survive, to stay alive. But the council saw something else in him. They saw a potential for rebellion, for change. And that scared them. The alien woman stepped forward, her expression unreadable. You have a choice, she said, her voice calm but firm. You can join us, align yourself with our cause, and become more than just a fighter. Or you can refuse, and we will treat you like any other prisoner. The human stared at her, his heart beating faster. This was the moment she had warned him about, the moment where he would have to choose a side. But what did it mean to join them? What was their cause? And could he trust them? The council waited for his response, their eyes locked on him, expecting an answer. The alien woman's gaze softened, and for the first time, the human saw a flicker of emotion in her eyes. It wasn't just about power. It was about something more. I don't know what your cause is, he said finally, his voice steady but unsure. I don't know if I can trust you. But I do know this, I'm not your puppet, I won't be controlled. The alien woman's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't speak. The council leader, however, nodded slowly as if he had expected this response. You misunderstand, the leader said. This isn't about control, it's about survival. The universe is changing, human. There are forces out there, forces that threaten everything we know. You've seen the power of our warriors, but there are threats that even we cannot face alone. And that is why we need you. The human's mind was spinning. He had been fighting for survival this entire time. He had never asked for more. But now, the council was offering him something, a chance to be part of something greater. But at what cost? And if I refuse? The human asked, his voice hardening. What happens then? If you refuse, the council leader said, his voice cold, then you will remain here, in the arena, a slave to our games. We will continue to use you until you break. You will never escape. The words hit the human like a slap to the face. The council was offering him a choice, but it wasn't really a choice at all. Either he joined them, or he would be used. Trapped in this endless cycle of violence, the alien woman's gaze softened as she stepped closer to him. It doesn't have to be this way, she said, her voice quieter now. You have the power to make a difference. You don't have to fight for them. You can fight for yourself, fight for your people. The human stood in silence, torn between two worlds. He had never imagined his fight would come to this, a choice between freedom and allegiance. He had always fought for his own survival. But now, his decisions would affect more than just his own life. I need time to think. The human said at last, his voice calm but firm. The council exchanged glances, but the leader nodded. You have one night. Tomorrow you will give us your answer. As the human turned to leave, the alien woman caught his eye once more. This time, her gaze was filled with something more than just duty. There was something personal, something deep. And for the first time, the human felt that maybe, just maybe, there was more to this than just survival.